Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be chatting about how much money I earned in dividends in my taxable brokerage account. Now, I'm not a dividend investor by any stretch. None of my accounts, well, there are a few accounts that are specifically for dividends, but the majority of them are just accounts or funds that I chose based on their ability to appreciate in the future. So the stock price, that is, not the dividend income. But because I will be drawing on my dividends in the upcoming year, I thought it would be interesting to see how much I actually made. Prior to this, I never paid attention, but I was like, now's a good time. So let's get into it. A few other caveats is that I didn't hold a few of these stocks like the entire year. So I added to them throughout the year. So that affects the amount of dividends. Say for instance, I had the same 10 stocks and didn't add to them, then that would be a true representation of the amount of dividends I earned in that particular year. But since I kept on adding to the stocks throughout the year, the dividends aren't for the full amount of money that I have at this particular moment, because I had less money at the beginning of the year, if you catch my meaning. There were a few other caveats as well, and I'll talk about them as I go through the individual exchange traded funds. All of my stocks are right here to the side on my laptop, so that's what I'm looking at. But yes, let's start off with the money market fund. And this is basically a fund that all your money goes into when you transfer it from your checking account into the brokerage account. So I didn't know that this gave dividends at all until I was looking at the dividend report for the year, and I saw that I made some dividends. So that's interesting. But that currently has a value of $0. There's no money in there. I usually switch it over to a exchange traded fund as soon as possible. So currently the value is $0 and the yield on it is 1.5%. So that is the dividend yield. And for the year, I made $5 from that account, which is interesting. I mean, it's fun to make dividends because I didn't expect that. But yeah, the next stock that we're going to chat about, and this is in order from the least dividends paid to the most dividends paid. So the next stock is the total stock market. So basically all the US companies that have stocks. So the value of that account currently is $5,179. I will list the shares because I don't feel like reading them out. They are in percentages, or no, they have 3 decimal places, and I am not gonna read those decimal places. But the dividend yield on that particular fund is 1.67%. And I'll put a definition of dividend yield and some of the stocks that I'm talking about in case you're not aware of what they are, because, you know, you might just be here to see how much I made and not necessarily the particulars of the stocks. But for those who are interested, I will put the information up. So I made $78 in dividends from the total stock market fund. Next is the extended market fund, and that has a value of $7,162, and the dividend yield on that particular fund is 1.15%. and yes, as I said, I made $78. So to note, in the total stock market, I'm just backtracking a little bit here, I did put money into it throughout the year. However, the value of the fund stayed the same because I lost money. As you'll see, the majority of these funds I've lost money in, because effectively most stocks in the US, it depends on the stocks clearly, but the market has suffered some losses this year. So as such, most of these exchange traded funds have also had losses in them as well. So the extended market fund I added to, and the value is less than when I started at the beginning of the year because I lost essentially more than I put in. So that's always fun. Next up is materials. This was a new fund, so I did not have this at the beginning of the year. I bought it at some point in the year. I don't recall when, but yes. But the current value of it is $9,995, and it has a dividend yield of 1.98%, and I made $101 in dividends. Next up is the Russell 2000, and I added to that fund. However, the current value is less because I lost money, shockingly. Current value is $8,187 with a dividend yield of 1.48%, and I made $116. Next up is energy, and that is a new stock that I purchased specifically because, as you know, or may or may not know, the energy prices have been skyrocketing, and as such, all these energy companies have been raking in the money, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I purchased some energy stocks. The current value of that stock is $7,604. Actually, it has the highest dividend yield of all the funds that I have. So it's 3.65%, and I earned $148 in dividends from having that stock. Next up is consumer discretionary. That one I did add to, and the value is higher than it was at the beginning of the year because I did not lose more than I put in. So there's that. Current value is $17,102. It has a very low dividend yield though at 0.98%, but I managed to make $155 in dividends for the year. Next up is the international dividend appreciation, and that I added money to as well, but the value is less now than what it was at the beginning of the year because I lost more than I put in. So current value is $11,695. It has a dividend yield of 2.06%, and I made $238 in dividends. The next few stocks that I'm going to talk about, the remainder of the stocks, are all ones that I added to, but the value is higher now than it was at the beginning of the year because I lost less than I added. So healthcare, currently valued at $20,742 with a dividend yield of 1.33%, which made me $245. Technology, or basically tech, which has been having a very rough year and possibly future. I have $32,399 worth of technology stocks. The dividend yield is very low for tech stocks because the value in them is the fact that they have the potential to appreciate exponentially, so they don't pay very many dividends, but dividend yield is 0.91%, and I made $255 from that particular fund. Next is financials, and that is valued at $14,272 with a dividend yield of 2.31%, and I made $257 for the year. Next up is real estate. I might have made a mistake earlier because this one actually has the highest dividend yield. So the current value of the stock is $8,756. The dividend yield on this particular fund is 3.91%, so that is the highest, and I made $301 from that fund. So if you're chasing dividends, then clearly real estate is one of the places to be, and of course energy as well. Next up is consumer staples, and that is valued at $15,717. The dividend yield is 2.37%, and I made $303 from it. And then we have the high dividend yield fund, which has a pretty high yield, but it's not the highest. So the current value of it is $12,763 with a dividend yield of 3.01%, and I made $329 from it. Finally, we have the S&P 500, which is one of my favorite funds. That one is valued at $35,503 with a dividend yield of 1.69%, and I made the most from it at $503. Now, clearly it has the most amount of money in it as well, so I'm sure that helped with the dividend yield. So in terms of the amount of money that I have in this brokerage account at the end of 2022, I had 2,007. I'm having some issues with numbers here. I had $207,076 total, and I made a total amount in dividends of $3,116. In some ways, I feel like this is more than what I expected because I didn't expect much. I mean, up until this point, like I said, I never paid attention to my dividends because they always got reinvested into the stocks, because my goal was to fund my financial investment goals. But now that I'm coming up to the tail end of that, because I am effectively cutting back my hours and switching to part-time this year, then, you know, I didn't know what to expect effectively, but pleasantly surprised. If this $200,000 was invested in purely dividend gaining stocks, then I might have made more dividends. I mean, that's how it works, but because that's not my focus, I won't be doing that. But it's still fun to get some extra money from doing something that you would already be doing, so investing. So that's it. Let me know, are you guys surprised by that amount? I'm not sure like what you expected. Is it more or less? And let me know if you have a similar size portfolio and you recall how much you made in dividends for 2022. Let me know, of course, and I will see you guys next time.